Yo, it's Mel from Rap Rankings. To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all the other episodes, stop by raprankings.com or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform. Track 6, You. Thank God we're back. Flat 7.
Flat 8. Ding me, baby. You know what's crazy?
What's that?
I was today years old when I found out Slug does not like this record.
He doesn't?
No.
Of course, I finally go back to liking songs and he don't like it.
So, this was apparently the second single. Slug explores the story of a woman stuck in a dead-end waitressing job. Slug does not have a great opinion about this song. In an interview, he says, then there's this song we did on the Lemons record called You. I don't ever perform it live because... And then the interviewer says, yeah, I don't like it either. And Slug says, you don't? You don't? Good. That song, that fucking song is stupid. But Ant
then
thought
why
it was
did
so...
you make it?
He said, because Ant thought it was so fucking funny.
Oh, so Ant didn't even like it from a place of earnest. He thought it was funny.
Right, like we've never made a record like this before, even though they did, which we'll get to in a second. So originally I had this shit at an 8+, and then today, when I was doing my final calculations for this album, I came across this note, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Fuck that plus. Fuck that plus. That means that it could potentially go to a 9, and it can't now that I've heard this. So.
Let me be clear. I'm very much in the camp of believing that the artist's take on their art is the final opinion. You know, it won't stop me from liking the song, you know, yeah. But it's like, I'm not one of those people. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, well, sometimes the artists don't know, like if the art, they made it. Okay. So however they feel about the record is going to be the,
out of all the
cloud
songs
that
on
hangs
this
over
album,
it forever.
No, out of all the songs in this album, and when we're talking about singles, we're obviously talking about, like, college radio, because this shit's not getting played on, like, Hot 97. To me, the last record we just did, what was it? Shoulda Known?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a single at all to me. You said it sounds like what an underground rapper thinks a single is.
Yeah.
Out of all the music on this album, this song in particular sticks out to me as not a radio hit, but like a college radio hit.
I mean, I said pop atmosphere.
Yeah,
like,
but also like funk atmosphere. The funky man is here.
I get why Ant thinks it's funny because, I mean, I did say that this is a kind of goofy chorus, but I'm Goofy Mel. It reminds me of being a kid. It reminds me of a radio record from like the early 2000s or something. Like, I like that about it. And it's kind of funny to me to hear that like he doesn't perform it, Slug doesn't, because he thinks it's stupid. Because this is one of the few records on there where like if I was in the room that we've been speaking of all review, I would understand being moved, because I'll tell you this. I was working, he mentions in the song, like, you know, the whole thing is about like this person, you know, who hates their job, like many of us do. But he says like, you know, yeah, you just got off work, huh? Another night, feel like the worst one. You know, customers are all fucks and low lives, but
question,
you know,
which we'll get to later. Is this the waitress from The Waitress coming up later?
I was thinking of that. It's possible. Ultimately, the universe doesn't mean that much to me to like actually dwell on it, but
right.
It's definitely possible. But when he said, and get that money is the weekend shift, I was on a weekend shift at the time. And for that split second, the song became a 9.
You were in the room, but you belonged in the room.
I did. And I was
you know
like,
what's crazy, Mel?
Yeah.
When this album dropped, I was living in Woodside, Queens, and I was working at a coffee shop, and like closing a lot of times. And this song would be a song I would listen to a lot on my walk back from the coffee shop after locking up at night, back to my apartment, which was like 3 or 4 blocks away, not far. So this song would like soundtrack my walk. It was like the getting off of work song after an annoyingly long day.
Yeah, I mean, I think he effectively communicates that emotion. If
you're like a working class person and you work on your feet to some extent, when you're beat to shit by the end of the day, play this song. And tell me that in a way, it won't almost like give you a second wind.
I'm just saying, like, this is the song, first one since track one, where I'm like, okay, I'm connecting. I'm finding some utility here. Like, it's
yes, and I like how Slug's motivational,
and he's like, oh, I don't like.
From like an emceeing perspective, it's funny because, like, to me, this is the first time Slug's truly flowing on this album.
I said low-key perfect verse alert on the first verse.
Oh, yeah. You just got off work, huh? Another night feeling like the worst one. You ain't even count your tips yet, but you could tell that it ain't no big steps. I don't see why you're so nice to customers. They're all fucks and lowlifes. But don't fight. Just keep your lips stiff. Get that money. It's the weekend shift. Classic verse. And at the end... like... you could blame the pride that makes you hold your anger inside, but deep down you want to curse them all. Fuck off, asshole, jerk off, dirtball. Then the chorus,
I find that
it's silly.
To be a goofy, wacky moment.
Yes, it's like, a silly song, but it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like, fuck these customers, like...
and it's catchy. I mean,
you gotta love it.
Okay, I'm in the... And then here he comes talking about... he ain't
not schmaltzy. Not fucking schmaltzy either.
No, it's not schmaltzy. Sometimes you need... It's great because the subject matter is about being frustrated and fed up and in a dead-end job. But this sort of like irreverent, flippant approach is what makes it work. You need to decompress with stuff like this sometimes. I'd rather... Like, this works because, I mean, we get plenty of emo records, like down-tempo, darker records on here.
Is this the underground rap version of Nice for What?
I'm not sure about that, but I see where you're going, I guess. I mean, I guess verse 2. Right? Once again, Slug rapping for women. Which he does a lot.
He loves it, but they love him, man. I mean, I've got to say, like, he's a rapper who I can verify has a huge female fan base.
I'm gonna get into this more specifically later on, but it's like I don't mind it here. The song's a flat 7. It's catchy, like it's good. I mean,
it's a standout.
To hear he doesn't like it makes sense. But I'm like, oh, come on, man. Like, lighten up.
This is my 4th favorite song on the album overall.
I, as an artist, understand, a lot of time. But, like, you and I, specifically, Moulz, like, us working together, we wouldn't put it out if we didn't like it. And I understand we were never in a position where it's like we got to say a label breathing down our back or it's like people making decisions for us, but it's like...
It's Rhymesayers Entertainment. Slug is like one of the owners
and that
of that.
Right, it's his label. So I'm saying just don't put it out. It doesn't matter what Ant says. Like, you're a duo. Like, you got to both be in agreement here. I don't understand the concept of putting out records that you don't like. I don't understand it.
I mean,
I've had plenty of times where I put out a record that I liked at the time and putting it out.
Yes,
and then like a few months later, I'm like, oh, I don't like this record. Like,
there are times where we've done shit together where at the time it felt like it was a good idea. And then a year later, we look back and we're like, oh, okay, we took an L. That was a bad choice. Yeah.
Bass Roller.
Sure.
Bunch of records. But that's different than like at the time of putting it out, you don't like it. I don't understand that. I would never put something into the world that I didn't like that I made. That's baffling to me. It's... Anyway, I like the record.
I don't have a ton to say about this record. It's just the funky man's in the building. I like the record a lot. It's catchy. It's a fun record. And I feel
it's the most upbeat record on the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay? But we know about him. He's emo Slug.
Yeah. And I'm emo Mel, but there's a, mocking sort of nature to it.
There is an emo-ness to it, though, because, like, work sucks.
Sardonic. There you go.
Sardonic wit. There you go.
It's this very sardonic record, and that's why Emo Mel is still in the building, even though the beat's upbeat.
Yes. Reminds me of a little song called All Alone as well.
Oh, come on, man.
Just a certain petulance to the chorus, you know?
All Alone is a classic, but that's for... I don't even know if that's for another day. But yeah, anyway.
Potentially.
Anyway. I like it. Flat 7. What can I say? Was that a Soulja Boy reference? You know, when that song came out, I didn't know if he was saying you or Yule. You remember that? People were talking about Yule. I'm like...
I was somewhat of an adult when it came out, so we knew what he was saying.
Okay. I mean, neither one makes sense. Why would you just be saying you? Why would you just be saying Yule?
Because he's saying you.
No.
Ain't no Yule.
I know, ain't no Yule, but it shouldn't be no Yule.
Ain't no
either.
Yule tide. Ain't no friggin' something dressed up like Eskimos.
I don't know about the Yule tide.
Ain't no turkey. Ain't no gay, mistletoe. Right? Okay?
Keep it gay.
Keep it gay.
I don't want the Yule tide no other way. It better be gay. All right.
All right. So
we
have
got
a
too
gay
much
Christmas.
turmoil
What's
in
that?
the world
going on?
for it to not be gay.
Gay Paris. Okay.
What?
Gay Paris. Okay. We know about them.
I don't know
CBG,
what you're talking
shout
about.
out to, Montreal, Quebec. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
And by the way, I want to shout out to all my dope fiends in heaven. Let's move on to the next song.
What? We're definitely moving on. Yo, it's Mel from Rap Rankings. To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all the other episodes, stop by raprankings.com or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform.